I just wanted to take a moment to show you how to go about creating a label for any kind of bottle or product that you might need to do that for a stage prop. This is going to be a very basic introduction to Photoshop, so it's just really important for you to understand if you've already done some work on Photoshop, this is probably not going to be the workshop for you. I'll be doing some more advanced things later on. But the first thing you're going to want to do is go to the website for student Photoshop. There's an opportunity for you to get a free trial that lasts for 30 days, or to sign up for a student version of Creative Cloud, which has all the programs in it, which is Illustrator. There's a bunch. So you can certainly do that. If you sign up for it, it's $20 a month roughly. You don't have to do that right now, but I would say that it is going to be something you're going to want to consider if you are going to stay in theatrical props or set design or any of the design areas, because it's going to make you more employable. Let's just be honest. If you have those skills on your resume, you're going to be immediately more desirable than a candidate that does not have that. So regardless of that, you can use the free trial and we can get going on that. So the first thing that I did is I went and did a Google search and looked for a label that I liked, and I found this one, and I just typed in in the search term vintage wine bottle labels. Maybe you're doing I don't know, a Chekhov play or an Ibsen play or something like that that's more Victorian looking, and you wanted something that's more vintage. Anyway, you can see that there's tons of options. So I chose this one, and if you right click on the image in the thumbnail and say open link in, or open image rather, in new tab, you'll get a bigger version of it. And then what I like to do is I like to do a screenshot. And what that is Shift Command 4. So Shift Command 4 if you have a Mac. If you don't have a Mac, you have a PC, you'll just want to do a Google search to find out what your screenshot options are. And you can take the cursor and you drag it down, and then you click on that, and that saved it to your desktop. Okay? So that's the first thing that I did. And I have put in a Google Drive folder, and that's what I'm going to share with you, the version that I saved as a JPEG. Now, when you do a screenshot, it will save it as a .png, and you'll want to convert it to a JPEG in Photoshop. So let's do that next. I'll just walk you through that. So I've opened Photoshop, and this is what Photoshop looks like when you open it up. You're going to want to make sure that you've got your toolbar set up on the side here. You're going to have a top here. Just don't be afraid of the program. Okay, I'm going to walk you through, and there's all kinds of tutorials online for you to learn all of these different tools. I'm just going to show you a few of them, okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to File, Open, and I'm going to look for that place where I did the screenshot of the label. And see, it's on my desktop. I just navigated over there, and there it is, and I can open it up. So here I can see it, and you'll notice up here that it says .png. Well, I don't want it to be a PNG, I want it to be a JPEG, okay? So I'm going to go to File, Save As, and this opens up. Well, I can save it back to my desktop, or I could find a different folder. I'm going to navigate to the folder that I am saving these things in. This is the Photoshop Workshop #1. But again, you can save it wherever you want, and I'm going to title it something. JPEG. And you don't even have to add the .jpeg, because what you're going to do is you're going to go down here and you're going to choose on the save, or on the format rather, this little format window has an arrow. You're going to click on that, and you're going to navigate to where it says JPEG, and see it's going to recognize that immediately. You'll notice I've already done it. I'm just doing it again to show you how I did it, and I can hit save. Okay, so I don't need 2 copies of that. I'm just going to go back to that real quick, and I'm going to get rid of the one that I don't need, that I just made. I'm going to move it to the trash. Okay, so now I'm back in Photoshop, and I'm going to open up that nice one that I that I saved. Okay. Now, when you open it up, you'll notice that you've got a ruler along the top and a ruler along the bottom. If you're not seeing that, you just go to View and you make sure that Rulers is checked. That's, again, it's under View, drop-down menu, Rulers. Okay? So, whoops. So now you'll notice I want to turn your attention down here to the bottom right corner. Right down here is where it says Layers, Channels, Paths. Okay, we're just going to be dealing with layers today. Actually, we may deal with paths too, but I'm going to show you how to deal with that here in just a second. So layers, it's showing that this is my background layer. This is the original layer that I have this image in. Now, I can make other layers. I don't really need to because all I'm doing is I want to make this is the right size to print out to put on a wine bottle. That's all I'm doing, okay? Right now it's way too big. It's 11, almost 12 inches long and 8 inches tall. It would not fit on a wine bottle. So I need to mess around with this, okay? I don't have to change this at all if all I'm doing is changing the size. If I do anything else to it, if I want to change the color of it, if I want to change the text of it, the first thing I want to do, and I'm going to show you how to do this, I think it's worth doing, is I'm going to double click on this. I want to change this background layer, which is currently locked, to just a regular layer that I can do anything I want to, okay? So I'm just going to hit OK, and maybe what I'll do is I'll call it Original Label. Okay, I just want to make sure that that's on there. You can always change it down here later on if you want to, but I'm going to do that. And look at that, it's unlocked. So now I can do anything I want to. It's not going to do anything weird, okay? So let's deal with the size of this. Okay, so I don't even know. Maybe I have the wine bottle in front of me and I can measure it with a tape measure. Again, if you don't have a tape measure like they use in the costume shop, the next time that you're at a dollar store or at Walmart or whatever, pick one up. They're really cheap. It's a great thing to have in your toolkit. Start putting together a toolkit. You're going to want some spray adhesive. You're going to want some nice sharp matte knives and a nice metal ruler. You're going to want maybe some different kinds of pens, pencils, those kinds of things. Get a little art kit and start putting those things in it and make sure that you have them available to you when you're doing a project, okay? So here I am, I've got my label, I'm ready to go, and I don't even know what a standard size of a label is on a wine bottle. Well, what I've done is I've gone to Google Chrome and I've typed in a search window, standard size of wine bottle. And I scroll down and look what happens. It tells you, oh, most wine bottle shapes kind of work best with a label that is 3.5 inches tall or wide by 4 inches high. Or you could do it the other way. You could have it 3 inches tall, 3.5 inches tall by 4 inches wide. But 4 inches by 4 inches tends to be kind of this nice tall rectangle that looks like it's, you know, in portrait style. That tends to be what we do now. Well, you'll notice something. Mine is in landscape view. So it's a dessert wine. They tend to have a different kind of label on them. So I'm going to need to reduce the size of this height-wise to 3.5 inches tall by 4 inches wide. Okay? So what we're going to do is go to the image pull-down menu at the top, and we're going to click on that, and we're going to scroll down to image size. So click on that, and look at what we have here. We have the image size box. This is really important because the resolution is going to be how clear and crisp your image is. Right now the resolution is 200. That's pretty nice. Now if you want it to 300, of course the file is going to be much larger because as I change this number, look at how much bigger the whole image gets up here. You'll see it's just a much larger, and when you save it to your computer, it's going to be much larger. For something this small, you really don't need more than a 200 pixels per inch resolution. It's just, it's a diminishing return. You don't really need it to be bigger than that. But here, you'll notice that I have my height and width. And right now they're linked so that if I change one, it proportionally changes the other one. So let's say we know that we want it to be 4 inches wide. So let's put 4 in there and look at how much smaller the height gets. Now, if I wanted to start tweaking around with this, and I think to myself, well, maybe I can get away with making a little bit taller and still not distorting it, because it's pretty close to 3 inches tall. So what I'd have to do is click on this to unlock that ratio, and now I can change these measurements independently of each other. And you'll notice it stretched it vertically a little bit. It doesn't look to me like that's too distorted. If I added another 1/4 inch, that's starting to look a little bit more distorted. So you're going to have to be, as an artist, kind of thinking about what you can get away with from 30 feet away. You don't want it to be too distorted because the audience will see it, especially in an intimate space. So I'd say be careful with that. No, I don't want to do 8. I want to do 3.25. Okay, so I don't know how that happened. 3.25 high. That's about as tall as I'm going to be able to get it. And it's going to be 4.7 inches wide. So I really don't want it to be that wide. It's almost 5 inches. So I'm going to go back to 4.25 here. So now I've got 3.25 and 4.25, and I'm going to say, you know what? That's going to be as good as I'm going to get, okay, without starting to make it look weird. So I'm going to hit OK. Now it's gotten real small. So if you want to see it better on your screen, go to View. You can zoom in if you want to, or you can just say fit it on the screen. Boom. Now I can see the whole thing. I really get a sense of what it looks like. Now we've done the basics for resizing. I think we're going to leave it at that for this one. And I will do another example of how to change the color of this in our next video. I'm going to hit save. You'll notice that when you hit save on Photoshop, it defaults to saving it as a Photoshop document. Okay? Really, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to save a Photoshop version of it. I'm going to save that and hit OK. But then I'm going to go back and I'm going to do File, Save As, and I'm going to save it as a JPEG again. Okay? And I'm going to hit Save, and you'll notice that it says, oh, that already exists. Do you want to replace it? Yes, I've wanted to replace it. And then you'll make sure the quality is at the maximum. Okay. And now we've got a nice resized JPEG version of this and a Photoshop document too. It's just good to have a backup, okay? So now, if you wanted to see how it would print, you'd go to File, File, Print, and this is how it's going to look on an 8.5 by 11 sheet. So it's always good to check that. You're going to have a lot of different things here to look at as far as Photoshop managing color. I think that that's fine. What you will notice is that every printer is going to print out a slightly different color. It's just the way that it is, okay? Match print colors, you could choose that if you're concerned about it. But I always like to, since color photocopies are expensive, what you can do is if you're going, like say you're going to FedEx office or you're printing it out at home, do a test copy. And then if you need to adjust the color on it, I can show you how to do that. So let's cancel this out. Let's say that you've printed out a copy and it's too green. What you can do is you can go to Image, Adjustments, and Color Balance, and you get this window here. And if you know that it's too green, maybe what you'd want to do is get it to be a little bit more on the red, a little bit more on the magenta, so that you cancel out some of that green. Again, but you could do whatever you needed to do to balance that color out using the Image, Adjust, Color Balance routine. Okay. So if you've got a color printer at home, maybe do that as a practice to see what you get on this, playing around with it yourself. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do File, Save again, just to make sure. Now it's just saved the PSD version of it, so that would be the one that you'd want to print out. But I'm going to go and do anything that I do. If I want my JPEG to be the same adjustment, I'm going to have to go to File, Save again, find my JPEG version, replace it, and then hit OK. so that you've got both of them doing the same thing, because it's always going to default, as soon as you save it as a PSD, that's going to be the one that's showing on your screen. Okay, just something to keep in mind. All right, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and file close. I'm going to quit Photoshop, and I'm going to send you an invitation to when we can get together to look at this and if you have questions, okay? So I'm just emptying the trash, and I will see you soon.
Sleeping. Did you record yourself?
You're on it now too.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm sure I can have Nikolai show me how to get that last little part out. Plus, because I was. Don't worry about it, Lee.